So welcome to yet another edition of Izwa, where we teach you how to do radio. Now, I've spent a lot of years, it's 11 years to be specific, doing commercial radio. I had spent about 10 years doing public broadcasting with the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation. Then I joined Zim Papers, Star FM, Diamond FM, Capital 100.4 FM, doing commercial radio. So I want to concentrate on doing commercial radio. And something that we're going to talk about today is basically we're going to talk briefly about the 3 facets of radio. Then we're going to tell you, as a presenter, what you need to keep in mind or who you need to keep in mind. So let's look at the 3 facets of radio. And the 3 facets of radio, according to me, the 3 facets of radio that you need to concentrate on are, first of all, we have the art. Then we have the science. And then third of all, we have the business of radio. So this is no particular order, but these are the 3 facets that you always need to keep in mind. Right. Let's quickly take you what we're talking about when we talk about, let me start right in the middle, because this is where radio starts. The science of radio. You basically need to understand how radio works. And I'm going to quickly take you through just how basically radio works. So as a presenter, you need to understand that the studio that you're in is where it all starts, right? That is where it all starts. Your music elements, your voice emanates from the studio, which is why you need to understand the technical aspects of your desk or your mixing console, because that is the source of whatever goes home. We will not get into detail on how to operate the desk, but that is where the source of whatever goes home starts. So you need to understand how things work. From the desk, it goes to the control room. Yeah, this is where the technical guys are based. Sometimes 24 hours a day, sometimes from a limited space of time. But this is where the technical guys are based. So your source of music, your voice, is then pushed into the control room, which is where they filter the sound, they look at the sound, they look at the levels, and then from there, they send it to the transmitter, right? When they send it to the transmitter, from the transmitter, it is then beamed to your receiver as the listener. So basically, that's the basic science of radio. Of course, when you get into the science of radio, you're also looking at the technical. As a presenter, like I told you, that on the desk, there's some technical aspects that you need to master. How you're not going to blow levels, how you're going to push out the right levels, and just understanding the faders and the knobs and everything else. The phones, the sources, and everything. That's also part of the science of radio. We also have another science that people need to understand. There is a science behind music rotation. Yes, there is a science behind music rotation. I'm going to tell you about something that we're not going to dwell on today. There's something called the clock that we always use when it comes to radio. Now, everything that happens on radio, being done properly, is not coincidental, it's actually planned. So we have our clock, and this is based on a 1-hour basis. So the clock is then divided. We have maybe a piece of music there, we have another song there, we have another song here, and another song there. We also have where specific times where the adverts will come. We call those spot blocks, and so we can choose to have a spot block at 1:15, another one at 1/2 another one at 1:45, and maybe a last one at 5:55. So these songs that I've placed on the clock, they work on a certain rotation, where in the back end of the rotation, we actually program our software to tell it to pick a hit song, a new song, a classic song, maybe another new song, and maybe a classic song, and maybe a hit song again. This is programmed at the back end, but I'm just trying to tell you how things that happen on radio are not coincidental, they're actually scientific. But we're not going to dwell on the clock today, but this is something that I just needed you to understand, that it is never coincidental. We work on clocks, we work on something that is already programmed. That's just part of the science, but there is a science behind radio. What are we talking about when we talk about the art of radio? We're talking about the presenter now, their style, their language, the way they deliver, their highs, their lows, their tones, even the creativity of bringing in imaging. When we talk about imaging, we're talking about what you would basically call jingles. Yes, those jingles that advertise the radio, that advertise or promote the presenter, or the jingles that just promote certain elements or certain shows on the radio. So that imaging, that creativity is what we call the art. How this person is going to endear themselves to the listeners. That is the art of radio. And yes, we might train you how to use the desk, we might train you how to do radio properly, all the science and everything, but usually the art is inborn. Sometimes you might not know how powerful your art is, but then you find it when you get on radio, you get trained. With time, you understand the art. The thing that makes you love your favorite presenter is how good they are with the art of radio. Let's look at the business. The business of radio, whether commercial or non-commercial, is based on something we call sustainability. Sustainability. Every radio station, whether commercial, whether community, whether public, or whether campus radio, has to find a way of sustaining itself. It's even more pronounced when we're talking about commercial radio stations. You need to understand the business of radio. Basically, the money that sustains radio stations, especially commercial, comes from commercials, the adverts that a lot of listeners sometimes get bored listening to, but that is where the money comes from. So remember, I gave you a lesson about commercials on radio. We have spot ads, we have infomercials, and we have sponsored programs. But outside that, radio stations can also make money out of outside broadcasts. They can also do events, and these are the things that bring in the money. They can also do regalia. They can also do little shops on the side. They can get into any other business that can sustain their business. So you need to also understand the commercial or the business of radio. What are we selling when we're talking about the business of radio? We are selling the art. But you cannot sell the art to the business if your science is not correct. Remember, you also get annoyed sometimes when radio is always switching off. Sometimes you cannot hear it properly. You need to tune in, you need to turn up the volume, turn down the volume. So there is a strong connectivity, or should I say a strong interdependency between good science and good art that then brings in the business. This is where the money is. Whether you're commercial or non-commercial, but like I said, it's more pronounced if you're into commercial radio. These things need to be on point, because this is what gets us the ears that we're looking for. We sell airtime. We sell our elements, our shows. We sell programming to our ears. So the more ears we have as a radio station, the more we are likely to attract the dollar sign. So this is understanding basically the business of radio. So today I was just taking you through a lesson on the 3 facets of radio that you need to understand and appreciate. Remember to subscribe, remember to share, remember to ask questions, to comment, and we'll be able to get back to you. The YouTube channel is Izwa, spelled as IZWAA. Subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend about Izwa. If you want to be on radio, if you want to understand radio, Izwa is the YouTube channel that you can subscribe to and get to know more about radio. Thanks for listening.